August 28th, 1955, my son, Emmett Lewis Till, was murdered. His death sparked the civil rights movement and was a catalyst within the African American community. Late in the midnight hour, I lay sound asleep when I receive a phone call that Emmett is missing. All day, I waited, every moment, every hour, wondering if my boy is still alive. From dawn till dusk, I waited. The memories roam my mind, and I often wonder, is this my fault? Because I'm the one who sent him down to the south in the small town of Money, Mississippi. I thought he was ready. I taught him so much about the different conditions and circumstances in the South. Emmett was born July 25th, 1941, but he did not come easy. Emmett born with the speech impediment, and in the great city of Chicago, he was born in a time that stressed the harsh conditions of society. Racist ideologies, Jim Crow laws, but most of all, he was born in the heart and soul of the lynching era. Thousands of African Americans were lynched, lives lost. They had black blood in the palms of their hands. And nothing is being done without this. So why would the death of my son cause such a roaring uprising that would change things forever? Emmett's body was found in the Tallahatchie River with a 95-pound cotton gin wrapped around his neck. They called his great-uncle, Moses Wright, to identify the body. When he had gotten there, Emmett's body was so badly beaten that he was unrecognizable, that the only way they could identify him was with the ring with his initials. That very day, the police and a man named Mr. Rayner, the funeral director, ordered an immediate burial. But just before they were about to put Emmett in the grave, I ordered them to stop the burial. He had no right to bury my son. They knew it would not be good for people to see what had happened. I rallied Chicago officials demanding the return of Emmett's body. When his body was returned to me, they told me that the box could not be opened. Wait a minute, you mean to tell me that I spent all this money on trying to get Emmett's body and I cannot even look at my own son's corpse? I said, Mr. Rayner, do you have a hammer? Because if you won't open this box, I will. He told me to go home and he would call me when the box was opened. When I had gotten there and saw what my son looked like, I looked at the left side of his face and I could see daylight on the other side. I looked at his right eye and it was lying midway the cheek. I looked at his left eye and it was gone. I looked at the bridge of his nose and it was like someone had chopped his nose in half. And lastly, I looked at his teeth, such precious things. Well, where are they? They've just been knocked out. Mr. Rayner asked me, are you going to open the casket? I said, oh yes, the casket will be opened. I have a responsibility to do, so let the whole world see what they have done to my son. We had the funeral a week later. Trying to get into the church was nearly impossible. Thousands of people gathered to see my son's corpse, and in disbelief, several fainted at the sight of his mangled body. Civil rights activists such as Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Roy Wilkins spoke at his funeral saying, we are not going to die like this. Instead, we are going to transform the South so that people will not have to die like this. The killers of my boy were arrested. Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam were arrested for the murder of Emmett. But trying to convict them was another catastrophe. Due to an all-white jury, they acquitted both men of killing my boy. But I said, and I am certain that if my son had to die, I do not want his death to be a vain thing. But if it can further the cause of freedom, I will say that my son died a hero. 2 years later, I received a letter in the mail saying that because of Emmett's death, the Civil Rights Act of 1957 was established. And what this act did was allow the United States Department of Justice to investigate local matters and deaths in the South, resulting in the end of the lynching era. Emmett's death sparked a revolution that had never been seen before in America, for it was Medgar Evers who said, "We are moving forward. Progression is key, so maybe Emmett can rest peacefully, knowing he changed things for the better." Now, exactly 100 days later, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man, resulting in the Montgomery bus boycott. But people often forget about my boy, for it was Rosa Parks who said in her own words, "I thought of Emmett Till, and I could not go back. I paid the same fare as others, and I just could not go back." I often wonder why God chose him and not someone else. And it's funny how God says, "Love your enemies." But now I know, because he was chosen and Emmett died so equal rights could live. Thank you.